Alright, so we are back. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge Doom fan. I was playing it back in 93 when it originally came out, and I just enjoy the crap out of that game. I think it's awesome. So I was thinking for the health, we can do the same thing with the character's head, is we can create an image of the character's head up here that will get damaged as her health is below a certain value. I'm also going to talk about how we're going to do the ground pound animation where we actually cause splash damage to the enemies. The way we do that is, well, we'll get into that here in a minute. The first thing I want to do is actually, I want to take the character sprite, so I'm going to move this over here, character sprite, and I'm going to move this, I'm just going to move the idle one in here. I'm going to insert and open up in a new document. So I actually want just her head. Just the head. So I'm going to Control C and then Control V. I can turn this layer off, and then I can take my magic eraser tool and I can start erasing. So I'm going to set this size to say 20. It's going to be fairly large. And I'm just going to erase. There we go. So now I have just her head. Yeah, I know I have some of these other aspects of it that are kind of peeking through. That's okay. This is just a template for me to work off of. One of the important things to note is I need to set the canvas size to this image. So I'm going to come up here to image, and it's going to be trimmed to current layer. There we go. So now I'm going to create a new layer, and we're going to start painting. So probably going to need to keep these lines kind of thick. And this won't be something that, well, I don't know if we'll submit it for this build or not. I think it'd be kind of cool if we submitted it for this build. It'll just kind of show like how much time and effort we put into this. Especially for milestone 1. I think it'd be kind of unique. Get this real quick. Down through here. There we go. So now I just need to add the back hair part. And then I need to do the face outline. Now for the inner parts right here, where a lot of the fine details at, I'm actually going to set my brush size to 1. And the reason is because I want to keep a lot of this detail real tight. I do mean extremely tight. So now what I need to do is get this color. And all I'm going to do is just do like a quick little swash in here. And the reason for me doing this is I'm actually building up my color list. So each time I select one of these colors and drag it, it's actually adding it up here to my previous color history. So that's the only reason for me doing this. Let's see. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. Select this. Drag it in. So that should be all the color. Oh wait, I still need the blue right here. Okay, there we go. So now is what I can do is come in here. I'm going to turn the opacity down. I'm going to set this to 3. I'm just going to start coloring in. That is the wrong layer, Jimmy. And for this layer, I'm actually going to go ahead and add the pupil to that. So this way I can come back here and just paint in around the edge. I'm actually going to create another layer underneath that. I'm going to do the eye white. This way I can paint over the blue and I don't have to worry about anything. And then I'm going to create another layer for this color. And just start painting in everything. I'm actually going to set this to 10. So, for those of you who have not played the original Doom, basically, in that game, you have this status. Your health status was also a portrait on the bottom screen. In fact, let me go ahead and pull up an image for you real quick. Doom 93 health face. So, in the bottom, we had this little health face down here, and this would kind of like indicate how much health you had without looking at the percentage. Each time the percentage dropped, the face would change, and it just become more and more bloody as your health got lower and lower. And then when you died, it was like this. So that's essentially what I want to do, but no blood, because as I mentioned before, I'm trying to give this game a T for teen rating. And oh, you bastard. So that's the only reason for that. Come down here, paint that in, paint that in. There we go. This is a spot. There we go. So we have done that. Looks like all those parts are painted in pretty well. We just finished painting this, and this. I'm going to finish painting all this in, and I'm going to pause the video. When I get back, we'll continue on. Alright, so the character is completely painted in. One thing to note, besides the fact that I missed a few areas. There we go. One thing to note is that in Doom, I missed quite a few areas actually. So, as I said, in Doom, the more damage you take, the more bloodied up the character gets. Now, I'm trying to aim for a T for teen. The way we can still emulate that is by adding crosshatches. So, if I take this, and let me go ahead and Control G, I can set this as head primary and create new layers above that. So, I can come up here and set this to 1, and this is a black layer. So I can actually create scratches like that. And because of how big this head is going to be, this is probably about the size of the head, this is what you'd be looking at. So we could add something like that. We can add something like this. In fact, I'm going to come up to these two layers and I'm going to drop the opacity a little bit. So we'll go ahead and do another layer. Let's get some marks on her ear. I think I'm going to keep this at 100%. The reason why I decided to keep that at 100% because this way it shows up a little bit better. So let me add another layer. Looks good. Still looks kind of plain back here. So I'm going to add in something right here. I don't want to add it right there. I actually want to create a new layer for that. Alright, and we still have a couple spots that I missed. I don't know how I keep missing those, but I am. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Alright, so now that we've done that, we need to create expressions. The way we create expressions is very simple. we actually, we're going to do a new layer over this, and we're going to group this layer. So this will be called expressions, expression smile. We're going to duplicate this, and this will be called expression take damage. So expression smile, we have this layer right here. We're actually going to, that looks a little too evil. And we're going to turn on all of these, make sure they do not interfere, and they don't. So for the expression smile, is what we're going to do is we're going to give her teeth. I'm going to create a new layer. We're going to move this underneath here, but we still need it to be in there. There we go. So we're going to go to white, set that to 3, and we're just going to paint in here. And when we turn that off, she'll go right back to not smiling. So we actually have an issue with this right here. We need to come into the outline and actually paint this in. So this way it matches a little bit better whenever she smiles. And we could make her teeth a little bit smaller, but it doesn't matter. Right here, we want her to take damage. We actually want her to close her eye when she takes damage. So we're going to set this to 1. I'm actually going to make that kind of transparent. So when her eye is closed, I actually want it to be probably like this. And then we'll turn on these real quick. There we go. So that looks good. And we're going to come to this color. Let's go ahead and create a new layer for that. We'll set this to 4. Now this part is actually kind of important because I need to color out the whole eye. But on top of that, I also need to darken the brow up here. So I'm actually going to click back up here, go to black, set this to 1. And I'm just going to try and get that as close as possible. So when we come back down here, we should be able to paint all this in. There we go. So let's go ahead and go back to head primary. And when she takes damage, she should close her eye just like that. And if she already has damage done to her when she closes her eye, that's what the player will see. The next thing I want to do is I actually want to create this where she's like not grinning, but you know, like she's in pain. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm actually just going to add to her mouth and add her teeth. Come to the white layer. Just like that. Come up here. Let's make this a little bit more. There we go. And I could actually make this a little bit larger. Come down here, add white. Awesome. So I can also add more detail by doing that. So I think that looks pretty good. And let me go ahead and turn on all these layers and make sure that none of them interfere, and they do not. So there we go. We can also set up a blink if we wanted to. So we'll create a new layer. This will just be called blinking. Control G. Blink. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. Outline. So all I'm going to do is come in here and draw a black line. Set the transparency of this kind of low. Try to match this a little bit. And just like I did with the other one, I'm going to come in here and I'm actually going to color over the whole eye. So as long as I get the whole eye, we are fine. There we go. And maybe get a little bit more right there. So I can come back to the head primary. And I can see that I missed some. There we go. Looks like this comes down a little bit, but that should be alright. So now we just have to save this, and that should be it as far as creating a character head. I'm going to save this as, this will be, instead of saving it inside character sprites, I'm actually going to save it inside the UI sprites folder. Character health head. This will be head health max. Save. Okay. Need to do a blink. And actually, one thing I just realized, this will be head 0, 0. The reason why I'm creating 0, 0 and 0, 1 for blink is just simply because I want to be able to tell the code like, okay, if you're in this state, then you'll take whatever number you're at and add it to this. So then we have take damage, which will just be head, I'm going to say 02. Yeah, see, I'm kind of conflicted on if I want to name them this way or not. I'm actually very conflicted on that. So let's go ahead and do a smile. Head 03. One thing I will do is I will go ahead and make note of what I am doing. So let me go ahead and write this on my whiteboard real quick. 0, 0 equals regular. 0, 1 equals blank. 0, 2 equals take damage. 0, 3 equals smile. Okay, there we go. So the reason why I'm writing those down, so this way, whenever I start exporting, is what I can do is I can simply add one of these marks on her and know which one I am doing. So because I know 0, 0 is regular, so this will be 0, 4. And then we have the blank, which would be 5. And then we have the smile. I didn't do the smile. So take damage is 2. Oh, 03 is smile. So actually, I'm going to move this one up here because take damage I have set to the other one. So we have 0 for regular, 1 for blink, 2 for take damage, 3 for smiling. So that's actually going to be very important. And then this will be a smile. So that will be a 7. I'm going to add another layer. This will be 8. Nine. 10. This one will be 11. This one will be 12. 13. I might actually go ahead and add these tonight. I don't know yet. This one is 14. So I'm going to continue adding all these, and I'll pick back up whenever I'm done. Alright, so all these are now saved, but I want to create one more facial expression. This facial expression will be determined if we are using invincibility or not. And when I say invincibility, I mean just that. We are invincible. I don't mean that we're transformed, which I do need to create one for transformed, but I mean actually straight up, we are completely invincible. Nothing can harm us. But for now, how do we create one for whenever we're transformed? That's super easy. All we need to do is just repaint the hair, because we never messed with the hair. So that's where our advantage will come in to play. I'm going to go to select. We're going to grow the selection. Wait, not yet. I need to select this one too. We're going to go to select, grow selection. We're going to grow it by 2. And we just need to come in here and select these little areas that are in here that did not get selected. So we're going to do that real quickly. Let's see. We also need to include this as well. You guys are going to be like, that is so cheap and so ingenious at the same time. Hey, look at that. I missed another spot. You know what? Screw you, spot. Let's add this. So now that we've selected that, I'm going to move this layer, set the opacity to 50%, increase the brush size, come in here, come to my brush. So yeah, that should work. That should work. As long as I move it here, I can paint, and that will give us a sense of there we go. So this will give us a sense that we are transformed. I just need to lower the opacity. Let's say 35%. Yeah, because that will give us a transformation right there. So I'm actually going to keep all of these on except for that layer. And I'm also going to turn off the color layer. I'm also going to do one more thing. I'm going to come in here and select this right here. Click here, Control CV. I'm going to turn that off there. I'm going to delete it out of this layer. And the ear needs to go as well, because we are changing the way the ear looks. So this does need to go. So Control CV, and I can stay there. We'll delete it off of here, and we'll turn that off. So now when we turn on this, that should be within that black, and it is, so that will work. So the hair is going to be something that's really interesting. Got a scratch. Because, I'm trying to think how to explain this. The hair, we're actually going to just slap it onto the UI that we already have. And that's why I wasn't really worried about doing the transform layers. But God mode will be something that we will want, because when we go into our capstone classes, they will require us to have cheats in the game, like a debug menu. So I'm going to set this to 3. I'm going to set her eyes to a bright yellow. I told you I want to set that to 3. So if this isn't iconic with the game Doom, I don't know what is. There we go. We'll come down to one of these lower layers, and we'll just start painting this in, just to make sure we got it all. There we go. So I'm going to come down to this layer, paint in around here, just to make sure it is completely filled. And awesome. So now we have this. Let's go ahead and save this. Head God transformed. Turn off this white layer. Head God regular. Alright, so we now have all the images we need to work with. Let's go into Unity, wait for this to compile. We'll then go into UI sprites, character health. We need to set all of these as a sprite 2D UI, and we'll hit apply. So now that that's done, we have the hair. We didn't export the hair, so we need to export the hair. It would be a lot easier if I just trying to think how to explain this. If I just exported these, it would be a lot easier to do it that way. Like if I renamed them and did it with transformed and non-transformed. I'm actually halfway tempted to do that. No, I think that is how I'm going to do it, because that would be a lot easier to work with. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to rename these. I'll be back in just a minute. Alright, so one interesting thing to note. I said earlier in my presentation, if she is transformed, she will not take damage. She's basically invulnerable or invincible. So if we come into the player sprites, bring this over, we're going to go into sprites, and we're going to go into UI sprites. And if you notice, when she's transformed, she still has a look that she's taken damage. And every single 4 frames, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, she's always taking damage. The reason why those are there, because I'm just going to simply do a check to see, I explain this. I'm just doing a check to see like what state she's in, and I'm just adding a certain value to it whenever we set this up as an array. And that's why I'm including those sprite images in there, even though they will not be used. So I might end up figuring out a way to do that a lot easier, but for now that's just the way I'm going to set them up. So we'll select all of these, and we'll set these as sprite and UI, hit apply, and there we go. So we have all the heads in here that we want to use. And on the canvas, we have the health bar border. Is this it, the circle? This is it, the circle. Okay. So I'm actually going to select all those. I'm going to frame in on those. And I'm going to move these out. And I'm going to select all of these and move these down. Except for the transform. I don't want to move that one. I do want to move the health down, though, because the health is going to be kind of an important one for me. I'm going to need kind of a large area to work with. So we have the circle. I'm going to go to the area here. I'm just going to bring the player head in as start. Actually, better than that, I'm actually going to bring it in here. Let me go ahead and create empty. Bring it into this game object. Okay, that did not work like I was hoping it would, so I'm just going to bring canvas, UI, image, that will go inside the circle bar health. The circle bar health itself I'm going to make larger. And I still want to try and use this image. That sucks. Okay, so I'm actually have to create a new one. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. Let's see. Let me go to File, New, and this will be 128 by 128. Create. So we're going to go to black. We're going to select circle, and I'm going to set this to 10 so I can just more easily see it. I'm going to try and line this up where this is about the same. Basically, I'm just trying to create a cube right here. Come here. there. Okay, awesome. And so now I can select this, select grow selection. I'm going to grow it by 5. And this will be our player area. And so I'll say select, shrink by 10. I'm actually going to shrink it. I'm going to shrink it by 3. So we'll still have a gray outline. There we go. We'll go to, let's go ahead and save this as player portrait. We'll save this as a PNG. Okay. Let's come back up to Unity. And for the health bar circle, we're going to come down to player portrait, default, 2D, UI, apply. We're going to click on health bar circle. We're going to drag this bad boy up here. And we're going to scale it down. I should have actually been holding down shift when I do this. So I'm going to move it right about there. There we go. And then we will click on image. So image, we actually want to use a player sprite. So we're going to drag the head right there. Let's go ahead and just move that in place. We're going to set this to the max. Set that right here. I'm going to start scaling this. I want this kind of large, and the reason why, because I want to be able to see all those details. I want to be able to go through the different frames and use these. So that actually doesn't look too bad. We'll go to the slider and the border. We're going to move these out just a little bit, right about here, I think. So now we need to realign these. I'm actually going to do that with all of these. So I'm going to realign all these real quick. I'm going to pause the video. I'll be right back. Alright, we have finished doing that. So we're actually going to move this window over where we kind of see it kind of large. I'm just going to grab one of these. Nope, not that one. I don't want to do that. I'm going to click on the image. We're actually going to rename this as player head image. And I just want to drag one of these in here and see how it looks. So that's good. Let me drag this one in. So yeah, you can definitely see her expressions. You can clearly see she's smiling. You can clearly see she's taking damage. You can see a main difference between that and that, like she's just blinking. So these will actually work really, really good, and I think they'll add a lot of character to the game. You can definitely see a difference between that and this for whenever she transforms. So that's going to be it for this video. The next video will be me scripting all of this in. Yay. So I'll see y'all there.